call this meeting of the Gulfstream Commission to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Stanley?
Here.
Commissioner White? Present. Commissioner Orthwein? Here. Mayor Morgan?
Here.
Let the record show that Commissioner Gainer is absent with notice, and also present Town Manager, Mr. Thrasher. And we have with us today Attorney Baird. Mr. Randolph is also absent with notice. And we have Acting Chief Allen. And that's it.
Augmented to say that I requested Mr. Baird's presence today.
Right.
Very good. Moving on to the minutes from the meeting of June 10th. Got an opportunity to review them. Are there any additions, with corrections, modifications? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve them. Second.
Joe?
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Mr. White? Yes. Mr. Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Read any additions or withdrawals to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, our next meeting is August 12th, 9 a.m. For all who wish to attend, any commission members who know at this time they won't be present. Very good. All right, let's welcome Mr. Mark Bannon, who's the Executive Director of the Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. My name is Mark Bannon. I am the Executive Director of the Commission on Ethics. I was appointed in December of last year, although I've been with the Commission for nearly 6 years. With me today is Anthony Bennett, who's our Chief Investigator, but his purpose here today is a little different. One of the things I did when I took over the leadership was to assign liaisons to each town, each municipality within the county. Anthony is yours, and so that doesn't mean you can't talk to anyone else at the office, but whatever it is you need, it'll be Anthony's responsibility to make sure you get it. He has the South County area, and we've divided the county up into various sections. I won't take much of your time because I know you have important business to do. This is really more of an introduction because I am new to the position, although I've been there a while. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the services we offer. First of all, we are not the Inspector General's office. We're often confused with them, and while John Kerry and I work very well together, the Inspector General, we're separate offices, we're independent from each other, and we have separate functions. One of our functions, of course, that most people know is the investigation of ethics complaints. And that is an important function we do, but it's not the most important thing we do. The two most important things we do are, number one, come out here and talk to people so that you know who we are, because what we want to form here is a partnership. And we want to help you in any way we can. The other important thing we do is training. We do training for all of the municipalities and all of the cities. We have, in fact, made arrangements with Richard Radcliffe, the president or the executive director of the League of Cities, to now make it so that you don't have to take 4 hours of training, including an hour of state ethics, and then an additional hour of our training. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the training at their meetings, and I will simply add on the state requirements so that you have the difference. That will stop you from having to do 5 hours of training when everyone else is only required to do 1, so hopefully that will work better. I'd also like to talk a little bit about advisory opinions. One of the things we also do is give advice. Now, when you call us with a set of circumstances and you're not sure if you can do a certain act under the Code of Ethics, whether it's allowed, we won't necessarily write an advisory opinion for you because we'll try to informally help you. We have written nearly 400 opinions in almost 6 years. So there's plenty of opinions on our website. What we do offer is this. Rather than you having to research 400 opinions, call us if you have a question. We will do that research for you, someone on staff, and then we'll tell you which opinions you should look at that maybe will answer your question. If it doesn't answer your question, then we're happy to write another opinion. That's one of the things we do. We're also here again for training. I want you to know that one of the things that is always an issue is how to train employees on duty, because you don't want to have to pay them overtime to get that required training. And what I can tell you is this: I have done training myself, and General Counsel Christy Kelly do all the training, but I have done training at midnight to avoid overtime. I have no problem with that. I've done it at 5:30 in the morning. We're here when you need us. So if you've got a special, in fact, I just did one the other night at 11 o'clock when was the downtime for certain fire departments we were doing training for. So it's when you need us. That's what we're here to do. If you need something from us, by all means ask. And the last thing I'd like to say before I let you get back to the actual business of the town is this. We are paid for, my office is paid for by ad valorem taxes. What that means is this: whatever service you need from us, you'll not get a bill. There'll be no bill because we came out here to train. There'll be no bill for investigations. There'll be no bill for anything we do for you because it's already paid for. You're already paying for it. And like any service you get where you're already paying, it's only cost effective if you use us. So please, call our office, ask for our help. We're there to help you. We are partners with you in this. One of the things we have discovered, and this is my last comment, is that the majority of violations we find within the Code of Ethics aren't about people trying to get something they're not entitled to. It's about a misunderstanding of how the rules apply. That's where we come in. If you have a question on that, call us. We're more than happy to help you through it. Does anyone have any questions for me?
If not, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for coming in. All right, public comment. Anyone from the public wish to speak?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Town Commission, for giving us the opportunity to share our thoughts. And most important, thank you, everybody from the community coming out here and, expressing your thoughts. And, I think the reason people are here is because we all want to leave Gulfstream a better place. Our goal, your goal, their goal is to make this a better place to live in, make it the #1 town in the country. That's our goal. But before I talk a little bit more about goals, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background for those of you who don't know. I found this hat recently. It says, "Made in America with Cuban parts." So if we're able to do something like that and I'm functional, and the whole theory behind this is my parents always told me, listen, make the most of what's around you. Surround yourself around good people. And I have no doubt that you guys are great people. No doubt. And the same thing here. I have no doubt that we're great people. But there's a lot of things I think we can do better. Basically is really being able to connect the dots better, being able to better work together. And some of the thoughts that just came up, across with everybody that's here today, your goal is to make this a better town, correct? That's what everybody's goal is. Nobody's here to be demonstrative. They're taking time off of their schedule. So I can also tell you pretty confidently, we got a lot of smart people in this room, but does anybody here have all the answers? Anybody? No. What does that mean? We need each other. We need each other. Mr. Morgan needs us. Mr. Thrasher needs us. Donna needs us. Joan needs us. We all need you. Bernard needs you. Miguel, Ed, Chet, we all need you. We need you to work with us to make this a better town. So there's a lot of talent here, and by no means I think we want to be demonstrative whatsoever. And one of the things I can honestly tell you is, going back to the early 1900s, there was a guy at the patent agency, and he said back then, everything that's been invented has already been invented. Think about how far we've gone since then. Think about how far. So I challenge Gulfstream to continue to find better ways, using this talent here to give us better ideas. I can tell you the gentleman sitting over there, Bernard, if he came to my house and knocked on my door and said, Julio, I want to remodel your house. I I go, Bernard, you're the Michael Jordan of remodeling. Let me leave the house and do whatever you want for the next 30 days. And I would say the same thing if Bernard came in here, any of these gentlemen came in here with ideas. The whole goal would be, at the end of the day, to let's find a way to say yes. You know, no means we don't have enough information. Let's make sure that everybody that leaves these doors has an answer, or we can work with them to find a better way. Because we really don't know it all, and we've got a lot of talent here. You know, Ed, Chet, you know, the president now, PAS, everybody's really contributing their time because that's their inner goal. And look, the job you guys are doing, you know, we're not perfect yet, but I know when you wake up every morning, your goal is to make this a better town. And I've had the opportunity to talk to all of you. I respect you immensely. And, I sincerely think that, we need to do a better job getting this talent together. And the last thought I can share with you is attorneys aren't gonna fix our problems. Lawsuits aren't gonna do it. It's gonna come from here, and stepping forward. I've got a new neighbor, Jamie. Jamie's the most passionate guy in the world. And I can tell you, he knows a lot of good stuff. He was talking to me about stuff the other day. And I'm going, gosh, I wish we could incorporate his brain into mine. I'd be dangerous. But that's the kind of talent you have here. So we can all glue it together. And Bill, what I would challenge you to do is everybody that leaves there, if they get a no, that no just means I want more answers. We want to get, them to feel good about the event there. They went there, they didn't go there to be hostile with anybody. They're trying to work within the barriers, and the rules that are there. And some of the rules may become obsolete. So those are just some thoughts, again, thank you to everybody that's here. I'm talking from my heart, and, that's my goal, is I really want, to be this a better time and work with, the parameters we have. Find a better way.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak?
Scott, let me.
Yes, second.
Hadn't really planned on coming up. Thank you. I'm Chet Snavely at 965 Orchid Lane. And there was once a movie, I can't even remember the name of the movie, it's not surprising I can't remember it, but there was a line in the movie was, the problem we have here is a failure to communicate. And that's what it was, Cool Hand Luke? Cool Hand Luke. So I think, following up on what Julio had to say, Julio, is this your pen?
You can borrow a check.
Is that, let's all work together. We have great minds up here, and you folks give your time, and, you get paid outrageous salaries to do this.
No more raises.
No more raises. And let's all work together. Like Julio said, you got a lot of bright people in the room, and the whole idea is, as a team effort, we're going to do a whole lot more than we can individually. And if one thing, because I read all the emails flying around back and forth, and it's really disturbing to read the emails. And we need a little bit more love going here. So I think my position, and I know Julio's position, and a lot of the positions of the folks here is, let us help. Let us be part of the process. I apologize. I wasn't available in March and April of this year because of health issues, but I'm back on board and back to old form. So, Plaza Soleil is a look at it as an asset rather than like a dangling participle. Communicate with us. Let's us communicate with you. And let's kind of all work together on this. Just following up on what Julio said. That's what I was saying.
Good, thank you very much. Well said. Anyone else care to speak?
Thank you, sir.
It's Leminski, 920 Indigo. Before I start, I just think in light of last night's national tragedy, if I could have time, I'd ask for a moment of silence for the men that protect us across the country and those that we lost last night. If we could just do that. Thank you. Well, certainly we had a very tragic situation, and it seems to be neighbor against neighbor in this country today. And I think that one of the things that came out in the email streams that was disturbing was Place du Soleil against the town, or the town against Place du Soleil. And I don't think that's what we want to do or how we should be thinking. The work that has been undertaken is an important piece to the growth and development of this town. It doesn't matter if it's in Place du Soleil or it's over by the country club, whatever it is, it's good for the town. And I think that everyone wants what's good for the town. Certainly we heard two people express that today. I think the manner in which sometimes that's gone after, some of the thinking that goes unchallenged in here, maybe because of a lack of a constant involvement on our side, we get to that point, and that's unfortunate. But I have to say that there has been a set of circumstances now going on almost 2 years that we need to bring to resolution. It's very clear with last week's ruling from courts that a decision that was made to pursue an effort that there were some in town felt on a personal basis was a good idea has in fact turned out to be a bad idea. And where that's become a very bad idea is that we now have a town with a budget that has a tremendous amount of pressure on it. We have a town that took on a $5 million project without the type of professional management that a project like that required. We took on that project, and during that period of time, we took on immense amounts of legal bills. Just imagine if instead of spending $1,000 an hour on legal bills, we spent $200 an hour on a professional engineer, project manager that would have managed that project. My good neighbor Chet Snavely, when he read the piece that you put out for us, said, you know, I know the mayor, I know his intentions, but quite clearly he's incorrect. He's incorrect because I do construction all the time. I talk to other people that own businesses and run construction projects. And their sense was that this project was not properly managed through its effort. So now we have this roll-down effect. And the roll-down effect becomes that we have monies that we're going to have to move around the budget. And we got to grab money from here and money from there. And a lot of that went on during this legal issue. Grabbing monies in ways that would cover bad ideas or badly managed projects. That's got to stop. That needs to stop, and it needs to stop right away. I asked for that last year during this legal thing. I said, let's sit down and talk, because I don't think you're going to get a good result. We had 15 people appear before you, and they spoke to the notion that they, A, did not want to see this happen. Half of those people that spoke were attorneys and said, you're not going to get the result you're looking for. We're asking that this council start to listen, put aside their petty vendettas, put aside their personal agendas, and recognize that there are some failings in town with both the direction and the management. And I'm coming to a conclusion. I asked you to yield for time. Come to a conclusion that we've got to do better. And I think that's how this discussion started this morning. We've got to do better, because what we're doing today is not working.
Very good. Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else care to speak? If not, let's move on to the public hearing. Any ex parte communications regarding the application?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to step down on this item. I recuse myself for a prior application for the same project in order to be consistent.
I understand. Mr. Stanley is recused, but we still have a quorum. Ms. Taylor, would you administer the oaths?
Anyone else intend to speak on this, please stand. Tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Weedsman?
Good morning, my name is Bill Wheatsman. I'm the agent for the owners at 3213 North Ocean. What the owners are proposing to do is to taken an existing house that we've done major renovations to, the interior renovations plus an addition back, and can complete their third phase of development with the addition of a loggia, which is located on the front of the house, overlooking the pool. So it's kind of an awkwardly laid out house originally with the pool in the front. However, they have absolutely no covered outdoor space whatsoever to use. They have a number of children. So if you're the easiest way to do this where it had the least impact was to simply extend the roof out, the same exact roof line that's at the house now, and extend it out, and create this loggia for outdoor dining, outdoor entertaining, outdoor cooking. And it simply overlooks the pool. It's again, an extension geometrically of the existing roof. It's behind hedges. It really can't be seen from the street whatsoever. And that's basically my presentation. Do you have any questions on it at all?
It looks very straightforward. You still have a lot of distance between A1A and the new loggia.
Yes.
Considerably more, frankly, than the spec homes that are being built right near you. I think it's a nice addition to what is the type of home we want to preserve in Gulfstream. It's very stately, and I would be very much in favor of your addition.
Thank you.
I agree. I think we could move to approve the special exception. Is that what we need to do first?
I think we have two motions.
To permit a one-story addition to the front of the non-conforming house consisting of 694.8 square feet. I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein, Mayor Morgan,
Yes.
And I'll move to approve level 3 architectural site plan review to permit an addition of 684.8 square feet loggia to the front of the existing dwelling.
A second.
Just add, so long as it meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards. With
Okay.
that modification, is there a second?
Second. Thank
Ms.
you.
Taylor?
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Aye.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And sorry for the delay, Mr. Weedsma. I wanted to give you a little additional space during this summer, a little time.
That's all right. Thanks. I appreciate the time.
All right, let's move on to reports. We have the independent auditor's report, Mr. Frank.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I'm Ron Bennett with Nolan Home Minor Certified Public Accountants in West Palm Beach. I'm the partner in charge of the audit of County Village Stream for the last several years. Excuse me. First off, if anyone's not familiar with financial statements, there are hard copies available, and it's available in an electronic version. If it's not on the town's website already, it will be shortly. So if anyone wants a copy, that's readily available. It's publicly available for no charge. With that, I'd like to talk first about what the purpose of an audit is and why you have audits and why they're independent certified public accounts. The primary reason for an audit is for the independent certified public accountants to perform an audit and then render an opinion on the financial statements. And what we call a clean opinion is if we say this financial statements, we believe based on our audit that they are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And I'm happy to say that that's exactly what we found. If you look on, beginning on page 1 is the independent auditor's report on the financial statements. That's the first and primary purpose of these financial statements and the audit. But because it's a governmental audit and because you're in the state of Florida, you get 3 additional reports. Those are the last 3 documents in the report. They're on page 48 through 55. The first one on pages 48 through 50 is because not only do we have to perform this audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, we have to perform it in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards. And part and parcel of that audit is a separate report that has a title about this long. But basically what it says is that we don't give an opinion on internal control and compliance, but we have to look at it as part and parcel of our audit, and if there's anything that we find amiss, we report it. The third document is because you're in the state of Florida, the Florida Auditor General requires that we include a management letter in accordance with his rules. And his rules state that there are a number of specific items that we have to comment on. It's kind of a boilerplate sort of. That document is on pages 51 through 54. And the last document is again required by the Auditor General of the state of Florida. Beginning last year, they required that we look at the investments of a municipality when we audit them and see if they are in compliance with Florida statutes. The title of the report is Independent Accountant's Report on Compliance with Section 218.415 Florida statutes. That statute is the one that defines the types of investments that municipalities and all governmental bodies actually are allowed to invest in. I'm happy to say that the town has complied with that statute. Kind of got the boilerplate stuff out of the way. What I'd like to do is talk about the numbers. I've prepared a handout. There are copies available for the public if anyone would like to have one. Hopefully everybody on the dais has one. It was a pretty good year. If you look on the first page, the table, this is the governmental revenues. The town has three funds. You have a general fund, which is a governmental fund, which is your general operating fund. That's where most of the activity takes place. Because of the undergrounding project, you have created a special revenue fund where the revenues, the special assessments, and the expenditures, the undergrounding costs, and ultimately the debt service costs to pay off the bonds are all recorded in that fund, and it's kind of an entity unto itself, kind of self-financing, and the money's being spent down there. The third fund is your enterprise fund, your water sewer fund. My chart here is the governmental revenues. It includes all of the revenues for the general fund and the special assessment fund. And as you can see, there was roughly a 16% increase in revenues from 2014 to 15. The $621,000 increase went from 3.9 million to a little over 4.5 million. The primary driver there was ad valorem taxes, which increased approximately 20%, or about 542,000 from the prior year. There were some minor increases, about 17,000 in utility service taxes, a little over 20,000 in intergovernmental revenues. What that is the state revenue sharing and a half-cent sales tax that you get from the state of Florida. And lastly, miscellaneous revenues. Those are kind of a catch-all. And this year you had some contributions and things of that sort that you really hadn't budgeted for that came in well above budget. In fact, if you have a copy of the report, this is one of those years when things went really well. What you'd like to see when you get to the end of the year is, our revenues were a little bit more than we budgeted and our expenditures were a little bit less. Well, this year, the revenues were almost 117,000 more than budgeted. The expenditures were about 446,000 less than budgeted, and what that gave you was a surplus of 562,000. So in the general fund, your equity or fund balance, as it's referred to, actually went up 562,000. If you were in a business, you'd call that your net income. We call it, change in fund balance. So that was a very good year. If you flip to the next page, you can see this in a bar chart that we kind of got a step going up. And since 2011, the big blue line at the top of the chart in 2011 were the prepaid special assessments. That's the year the special assessment for the undergrounding was levied. And about half the people prepaid them to avoid the interest charges. And now you're just getting an increment each year. You get about 200,000 a year from now until they're all paid off. But if you ignore that, you can see we're essentially kind of a step function going up, and the increase is primarily driven by ad valorem taxes. Following page is the flip side. These are the expenditures, and here you had a big decrease from the prior year, primarily driven by the physical environment category is the underground, and that's where all the undergrounding costs are. And they decreased from $1,640,000 to about $738,000. A little bit more than 900,000 decrease over the years that phase one of the project wound down. The other big decrease was capital outlay. Those again are not normally recurring projects. They go up and down depending on your need, and this year just happened to drop off. The only area of any increase of any significance was general administrative, but the total of the whole thing was that when you get to the bottom line, you had about $775,000 less in expenditures for the two funds combined than you did in the prior year. It's a 14% decrease. Again, we have this in a picture on the following page. You can see that the big dip in there was the physical environment undergrounding project. Next chart is the fund balance. Fund balance is your equity, it's the residual. You have revenues, you subtract off your expenses, and what's left over is your fund balance or your equity, and that is the cumulative difference between revenues and expenditures for all eternity past. This is where you sit now. So at the end of 2015, the general fund had about 1.4 million in fund balance, of which about 1,338,000 was unassigned. What unassigned means is that's money that's not earmarked. It can be used for any lawful purpose that the council's, commission deems appropriate. That happens to be about 38% of the total expenditures for the year. And the reason we look at that is there's always a question, what's an appropriate level of fund balance? And again, there is no exactly right and wrong answer. It's a matter of risk tolerance. As I've said before, you live on a barrier island here. We could have a major hurricane here. How much money do you think you would need right away if that came about? And that's kind of a policy decision. Many years ago, we used to tell people that everybody needed 60 days of expenditures. You need that much money, 2 months worth of cost on hand. And then 2004 and 2005 came along, and hurricanes came through. We had 4 of those in rapid succession. It turns out 2 months is about 16%. That wasn't enough for most folks. So I think most people now believe you need something well north of that. 38%, is 38 exactly right? Nobody knows for certain. It depends on how catastrophic things are. And I tell people not to look at just a percentage, but look at an absolute dollar amount. You have about $1.3 million readily available that you can use at your discretion. You can do a lot of fixing for $1 million. But is that enough? I don't know. I get to pontificate on this, but you guys actually have to deal with it. Yes. I do not envy your position in trying to figure these things out. It's really, there's no easy answers, there's just tough choices. Again, on the following page, you can see a chart of the fund balance. It has now returned to about the 2011 level. It had decreased in 12, 13, increased just a little bit in 14, and now it's back up to about where you were 4 years ago. Our last chart is the enterprise fund. Again, this is pretty good news. Your revenues were about $65,000. Your operating revenues were about $65,000 more than the prior year, and your operating expenses were about $96,000 more. You actually had a net income, if you look down at the bottom, of $217,356. That your equity went up $200,000. So for the last 3 years, it's pretty much marched in step. We had increases of about 211, 249, 217. So what that means is you're building equity in that fund. I know it's an old fund. There are a lot of assets in there that have been underground for a long time, and at some point there are going to be major repairs. I think it's very good that you're starting to accumulate resources there. That was the reason for it. The capital contributions is this reserve fee that was instituted 4 years ago, and those funds are accumulating. And hold on just a second, I'll tell you what the fund balance is. Actually, in an enterprise fund, it's not called a fund balance, it's called net position. Governmental accounting is a strange amalgam of different ways of doing things. It depends on the type of fund. The general fund and the special assessment fund are called governmental funds. They use something called current financial resources, and what that means is you only have current assets and current liabilities. Things like long-term debt and capital assets, building, equipment, that sort of stuff do not show up in those funds. Whereas in an enterprise fund, it's economic resources, you have everything. Current assets, long-term assets, current liabilities, long-term liabilities, so everything is in that fund. And in the enterprise fund, your total net position is about $2.9 million, but of that, $793,000 roughly is unrestricted. That's the money that's available that you can spend for, again, for any lawful purpose that you deem appropriate. So you're starting to edge up towards $1 million, and if you continue to increase that at a couple $100,000 a year, before too many years, you're gonna have money there to make some of these major repairs and, upgrades that are eventually gonna come to pass. I don't know exactly what year this system was built, and it's probably over a series of years, but I know it was a long time ago. And if it's been a long time, the likelihood of something going wrong gets greater every year. That's all I have. I would certainly be willing to try and answer any questions that anyone might have. And one last reminder, this is not your only bite of the apple. We're your auditors 365 days a year. If anyone ever has a question anytime, call me. If I can't answer it on the phone, I'll be glad to come out and meet with any one or more than one at any time. We consider that part of our audit fee. We're not going to send you a separate bill for that. That's part of our service.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Very thorough audit and analysis and explanation. I think it's very helpful to the residents who are here. Are there any questions by commission? I wouldn't think so. You covered every base.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Let's move on to the utility undergrounding report. Mr. Brandon is not here. Mr. Thrasher, do you have any update passed along by Mr.?
I just have some general comments. Basically, the project is very close to breaking ground. Notice to proceed would be, or commencement would be given the first part of next week. And a kickoff meeting between providers, expertise would also take place in the later part of next week. The contractor has ordered the conduit necessary for his portion of the job and conversations with FP&L for delivery of conduits for the electrical portion of the job is in an assignment. So generally, I think we might be slightly ahead of where we thought we might be at this point in time.
We were moving ahead quite well on phase 2. I thought we had the wind behind the sails. However, on Wednesday afternoon, I was served at my home with a lawsuit by Mr. O'Hare seeking an injunction to stop the underground project, a declaration from the court that it should be paid by the phase 2 residents, not out of the town's general fund, and of course with Mr. Hare, always a claim for monetary damages. I don't know what effect that will have on the undergrounding that we have struggled to put into place and to advance to get things moving forward during the summer months when there's less interruption to the town and more benefit to its residents. It's been tendered to the insurance company for review. If they accept it, it will be assigned to council to defend under the insurance policy. If not, the town will be paying and have to pay council again to defend that case. Town manager, let's move on to reports on purchasing of police equipment.
During the course of this meeting, I will be talking about 3 separate purchasing situations, but under this section of the report, I have provided you a quote from Motorola Solutions for new radios. This is something that we had discussed previously, a requirement necessary to stay in alignment with Delray Police Dispatch. We budgeted $60,000. This quote is $62,526.10. It is my recommendation that we purchase this equipment immediately, but I'd like to bring it to your attention in case there was any question about it or perhaps a desire not to do it. But
Do you require approval by the commission, or is this something that you can do on your own?
It's already been approved. It's not that much over. However, maybe not in your tenure, and I'm still trying to obligate myself to a previous commissioner's request that if an item is $25,000 more or more, even though it's budgeted, to bring it back, bounce it across the commission for final comment review.
I think that's wise, and I appreciate it.
In this
very
time, I think it is.
Absolutely. And I think without question, following up on what Mr. Slominski mentioned, after the events yesterday, I wouldn't think there would be any objection whatsoever. Any comments, questions? I think we're all in
Very good.
agreement.
Consensus with the commission is my interpretation.
Mhm.
The second item, in Eddie, I'm sorry, Mr. Allen, Lieutenant Allen is here on behalf of the police department. He is acting police chief in the absence of Chief Ward. And so at any time, Lieutenant, if you'd like to add comment, or please feel that freedom to do so. The item that I'm requesting was not part of the budget, but I'm recommending the purchase of protective vests, new lightweight protective vests for our police department. It's in the amount of $7,328. It is my recommendation that we put this out, something that I could normally approve, but I'd like to bring it to your attention because it is in composite with a latter part of the agenda in regards to how these things are funded, or this particular item is funded. But I would like to have a motion of approval on this one, for the purchase of
This is a
protective
request for
vests.
quantity of 10 body armor with plates from Point Blank Enterprises Body Armor. Total quoted amount is $7,328. Any comments or questions?
No, I'd like to approve that. I'll make a motion to approve the 10 Point Blank Enterprise Body Armor for the police.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Horton?
Yes.
I have a couple more items, although not listed on the agenda. I'd like to proceed. First, compliment Lieutenant Allen on his thoughts in regards to these vests and bring it to my attention. The fire study is basically completed. We're trying to have a meeting scheduled for all participants, and Ocean Ridge has cooperated by making their facilities available. They will also take minutes of the meeting, and so if you choose to attend, there would be a public hearing. We hope to have that take place sometime this month. Some years back, the town, actually way back in 2002, the town did a wastewater feasibility study. And in the current edition of the Sunshine editorial, Scott has stated that he wants to bring up a 50-50 grant concept for converting from septic to wastewater. And Palm Beach County may be left out of that loop, but there are powers to be trying to have him reconsider that position on Palm Beach County. And the only reason I bring it up to you is that a previous commissioner, Mayor Koch, told me to never bring this project up again unless there was available funding. So, in honor of Mayor Koch and my obligation and word to him, I bring it to your attention for future consideration.
This would be a conversion of septic systems to,
Either a
So
gravity, full gravity system or a low pressure sewer system. That
and
is
there's
correct.
some proposal that 50% of that cost would be advanced by the state.
That there is that consideration, and you have to be prepared for that. Feasibility study, in essence, could make us not shovel ready, but bid ready. The update for this feasibility, since it's 2002, from our engineers, they quoted me yesterday, approximately $40,000 to upgrade it. We'd have to have basically the direction of the sewer systems from Boynton and Delray Beach would be unchanged, but the price, the quotes, the new current laws in regards to EPA has to be updated in this report. So you're looking at, if you ever consider upfront feasibility engineering study, $40,000.
That's just the feasibility study.
That's just a
Yeah.
feasibility
We
study.
have, and the state has not definitively indicated that they would make that contribution.
That is correct, but
Okay, well, put
in
that-
preparation and thoughts about this,
well, thank you.
whatever your decision might be, I just am refreshing or bringing it to your attention.
I would agree with Mr. Coe,
Okay.
until such time as the state.
That's fine, but I know Mr. Coke is listening, so he's pleased with me. I would like to remind you.
Any other insight on that point?
Not right now.
I'd like to remind you that you have a 4-hour ethics training requirement that has to be completed again this year prior to, I think it's December 31st, 2016. Last year you all completed it. I have that record of you doing so, but I also need to remind you you have to do it again this year. And I will help you with that process as we continue.
Would you issue, I believe we did that online.
We did, and I'll try to
If you could
find
get us
out
that information again.
what can be accomplished,
It was
Right.
from the
state and
Florida
county.
League of Cities, wasn't there a video from the Florida League of
Right.
Cities that you could watch?
And
We-
Mr. Bannon said he was gonna
You'll give us all that.
integrate the state and
Yeah.
local.
So as time goes on, I will give you specific directions as to where you might be able to do this training. But I need to remind you, this is we're halfway through the calendar year, just reminding you of this requirement. And with that comment, it finishes town manager's report, unless there are any questions of me at this point in time.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Thrasher. The ARPB meeting is this month, July 28th at 8:30 a.m. Encourage anyone who's interested to attend. Mr. Thrasher, we have the finance report.
You have been provided the monthly financial report for your review and consideration. It's not, the motion is not required to approve it. I will make one comment, and then I will also ask if there are any questions. The first comment is that if you look at the net revenues year-to-date, we're basically 8 or 9 months through the fiscal year. We're running in a very positive light with net revenues at this point in time over $2 million. That will not be the projected number, but we're looking at again a significant build, barring any unexpected major legal expenditures. Presently, I think we're running at through June, $367,000 of legal fees compared to a budget of $1 million. So that's just one perspective of it. But we will have, unless there is some major malfunction, a very healthy, again, positive build. And with that build, it will put us in the area of where we were prior to 2011, although Mr. Bennett referred to 2011 as its benchmark year. We actually had a larger fund balance back in 2008, over $2 million. I believe it was 2.3. That'll get us closer. So unless you have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Thrasher, on the finance report?
No questions?
Thank you very much. Acting Chief Allen, activity report.
Report as submitted, I have one addition I'd like to add a comment to it. We just recently received word from the state that one of the suspects we had in a burglary case, that was a 4-year-old burglary case, has pled guilty to it and ordered restitution in the theft of the property that he took. And we were glad to hear that after 4 years of waiting patiently.
Well, and that was a somewhat complicated case involving
It
DNA
involved
analysis.
DNA analysis, which was collected and analyzed by the city of Delray for us. Their crime scene people helped us out with that. Broward SO was involved as well with locating the suspects.
Very good. Do you remember that, Burglary?
4 years, it's a long time.
The wheels of justice move slowly, but definitively. Thank you. All right. We next next move to the purchase of a beach patrol vehicle. Mr. Thrasher, would you?
I will, and thank you, and again, Lieutenant, I would ask your assistance and freedom. But if you do so, could you pull that mic closer to you? Thank you. Lieutenant Allen came to me and suggested that instead of expending $46,000 on the purchase of 2 new vehicles, that since the cars that we purchased most recently came in late, he is recommending an adjustment in the budget of not purchasing the patrol cars at this point in time, to pick them up again at the new fiscal year, which are budgeted, but instead purchasing the best, which you've already approved, and a new beach patrol vehicle, which you have a copy of. Total purchase of this vehicle is $15,579. It will augment the present very old and rusty beach patrol unit that we have, so it gives them a little better capability as it relates to perhaps carrying contraband, things of that nature if required. But the budget actually provides dollars for a capital of $46,000, and when you subtract out the $7,000 for vest and $16,000 for this car, there is a savings or a generation, supposedly, of net revenues of $23,000. So it is my recommendation, but I would like to ask your approval to purchase this particular item, and it's being purchased on a state contract. Is that correct?
The beach is part of our police active patrol.
The reason I'm requesting this particular type of vehicle is that this is obviously a two-seater vehicle. The old traditional beach vehicles we've had as a one-person, sometimes referred to as a toy more so than a real beach patrol vehicle. And with it, there's no way to transport an injured person off the beach, or bring equipment to the beach if needed, or assist the fire department with getting their assistance for rescue, as well as during a hurricane. It can be used for go through water if needed, and use basically as another small truck in case of a storm.
It is licensed for road too,
No, they're not licensed for road.
so they cannot go on the road, just the beach.
No, just the beach. I mean, not A1A, we can use our private roads to, get around, but it's not a street legal per se vehicle.
Okay.
Except under emergency
It's
circumstances.
an off-road vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So there are exceptions in the law for off-road, vehicles for emergencies and stuff.
Like in a hurricane or whatever, it can go over to Plaza Soleil.
If you had during a hurricane emergency situation, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seems to me if Lieutenant Allen recommends this and feels a need for it, that we should support him in that decision.
Considering my dad feels like he needs this stuff, recently looked at the bills for this stuff, and it's right on. It's about 12 for the base and 4,000 for upgrades, so there's no premium or anything here, so it's right on what the pricing is for these things.
Is there a motion to approve purchase of?
I'll move to approve the 2016, I'll call it beach buggy. The Dune, what do you call it? Except I guess I could just read the Ranger 570.
ATV.
ATV now. A 570, is it gonna be solar red?
No, it just did unfortunately green.
Okay. I'd like to move to approve it.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Let's move now to the issue of the proposed conveyance of corner cut at Pelican and Andrews. Mr. Severe, I think you can talk to this point.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request from the city of Delray Beach, who has received a request from a neighboring property owner regarding a corner cut at Andrews Avenue. during their evaluation of the request, they discovered that the property in question, rather than being owned by the city of Delray, was owned by the town. So their request is that they are willing to convey the property to the property owner in exchange for an easement, but because their determination is that Gulfstream actually owns it, Gulfstream would have to convey back that easement for access and maintaining the corner foot for access. If that is acceptable to the commission, it would be prudent for us to have an engineer's report to confirm that indeed that property is, the dimensions of that property and its location within the town of Gulfstream.
Are we obligated as the title owner to maintain that property?
Well, that could be a subject of negotiation in terms of the easement. The property owner is the one actually conveying the easement back to the town, and under those circumstances, certainly the town can say, since you have requested this be made available to you, you maintain it, and that would be part of the easement agreement.
Is this on the south east side of Pelican? And I'm having a little trouble envisioning where it is.
This is, I spoke to Rita about this yesterday. I actually received crazy calls throughout the year from different lawyers around the area when there's a crazy easement issue. So I heard about this a while back. This isn't a quasi-judicial proceeding, but I talked to staff about it yesterday, and basically where this is, just to sort of frame it for the town, this is the sort of stuff that towns do, is work on stuff like this, which I explained to Rita yesterday. Again, there's a cost. There's a cost, and the fact that you always have to have an engineering report when you're messing with sightline visibility triangles with corners and things, and plus you've got an owner who either wants to sell the lot or build a new structure on it. So this is actually, if you go down Pelican west, this is actually where Andrews meets Pelican. So you'll see where the B&T tennis courts and the wall and the Starkey property are. The end of the townhouses, it's right there. So there was originally 4 bungalows there. Mike Kepley bought those, tore them down, built his house, which is in Delray. This is the adjacent pie-shaped lot, which you would call the entrance actually to Driftwood Landing, which is in the town of Gulfstream. And then what this is when they did the title search, from my recollection, there was a part of a parcel or a square on the corner that belonged to Delray that was never conveyed. It got lost in the chain. So now they're seeking to the property owner, to my knowledge, is seeking to, tear down the old sinking bungalow, duplex, whatever it is there, which is on the corner of the canal. And then obviously correct this corner issue, and then probably at some point bring a site plan application to the town of Gulfstream, either whether it's this owner or some future owner, as Rita correctly pointed out to me yesterday, to reconstruct to build a new structure, which obviously is going to be part of the entrance to Driftwood Landing. You may see some construction maybe on the Starkey property in the future. Who knows? That property's for sale, so you may have some activity there. Entry points are totally different, obviously. So the rub here is that the Andrews is a Delray street, and Pelican, there's where it starts at Driftwood Landing, is a Gulfstream street. The corner of the streets intersect between the two towns. So what this would be, cost notwithstanding, would be an engineering reports notwithstanding, and maybe squeezing money out of the property owner to improve the corner if you have to. Delray conveys the whole square to the owner, which is this little square here on the corner. It's a real oddity. And then the owner, in return, simultaneously, which has to be approved at commission level in both towns, then conveys back a right-of-way deed, which which is very similar in layman's terms to an easement, executed by both mayors, preserving this old curb cut, which may be modified once there's an engineering report. What I suggested to Reed after we talked it out, not to waste a whole lot of time on this, but it's important, and it's against what we do, is to say, not take action on it, but provide a recommendation that, one, we need both towns need an engineering report. We don't have an engineering department in-house, it's all independent contractors. Delray does, or the owner can go out and get their own. And secondly, is there an agreement for the town attorney that can be done, much like a sidewalk improvement agreement or something else that says, okay, we'll do all this, but either we've got to have a restriction recorded that we'll get a contribution of funds to improve the streetscapes, even if it's with both towns' approved contractor, or that we go ahead and do it now and receive some sort of contribution.
So your recommendation is that we take no action today?
Right. They've got, the default here is we need an engineering report. You've got a street, you've got some traffic, you've got an entry point to our town, you've got a Delray street, and you've got a corner.
Would it be satisfactory to have Delray do their engineering report, which is in-house,
Yeah.
obligate the property owner or the
Right.
person to do a report as well, and based on those two analyses, draw?
Right, however they want to work it. They have the facilities to do that there in the engineering department, so.
My recommendation would be that Mr. Stanley work with town staff to oversee this project.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Would you be in agreement with that, Mr. Stanley?
Sure,
I'm in agreement with that.
but it's, again, when I
Save some money.
reminded everybody that, we don't want to spend any money on it if we don't have to, but this is what towns do. If you look at any town agenda, especially large ones, there's 10 things that look like this on every agenda. So it is normally what we're supposed to be doing and looking at. So, despite the fact the property is going to be redeveloped, or it's attempting to be redeveloped.
Well, I have utmost confidence in you to bring forward the best idea and proposal to this commission.
Okay, you got it.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Stanley or Mr. Barrett? Thank you very much, Tom. Let's move on to the proposed budget for fiscal year 2016-17. Mr. Thrasher?
Thank you, Mayor. I thought maybe I would start by telling you that we have certain things that we must accomplish today. Obviously, the discussion of the budget, but we need to approve a proposed millage rate. Now, this millage rate that you propose, once you set it today, cannot be increased, but only decreased. With that concept in mind, somewhere in this discussion, we'll be deciding upon a proposed millage rate for the fiscal year 2016 and 17. And then we will also have to certify, which is most important, what Palm Beach County and the state refer to as the current year rollback rate. And that rollback rate is a rate in which it generates the same revenue as the previous year based on the adjustment up or down on the taxable value. Thirdly, the document which I distributed was distributed prior to, even though it has a date of 7/8, this meeting. It was sent to you prior to the certification DR 420 document that we have recently received. What it is the county comes up with a final taxable value for our town, and from there we start calculating numbers and in regards to the rollback rate and also the ad valorem taxable revenue. So with that in mind, let me just say this, that the rollback rate for the fiscal year 2016-17 for the town of Gulfstream is 4.7684. So the rollback rate is 4.7684. And that's based on a taxable value of $1,020,616,589. So our taxable value has increased from previous year, approximately 6 or 7%. The budget that you have been provided is based on a proposed millage rate of 4.59. So this budget is proposing a millage rate which is less than last year, which was 5.0. It's also less than the calculated rollback rate of 4.7684. The budget components that may be critical for your review and consideration is that the capital expenditures for fiscal year 2016 and 17 is $1,050,500. That's what I'm proposing at this point in time. All of these numbers could change, but we're materially close to our proposed budget, what we might have for tentative budget and final budget. But numbers will obviously have to be massaged a bit as needed. But in the documents that have been provided, the capital expenditure is approximately $1 million. And for the first time, we have a material amount of paving scheduled. It is insufficient to do the entire town, but it's more than what we traditionally assign for $40,000 to $50,000, and it's $200,000. I have a contractor that is looking at all roads in the town, including Plaza Soleil. I know some of the residents feel that their roads are in much need of resurfacing. But the objective will be to prioritize roads in an order in which I can then allocate funds for the highest priorities. In other words, the greatest need of repair, wherever that may be. Could be in the core, which I think there is a great need, or it could be in Plaza Lake. The idea is to get an idea of what future events of paving will do or can be done in the future, but at least allocating $200,000, which is a very material amount of paving. And we also, in this budget, I bring your attention to a line item which is a use of funds in what is called the unreserved fund balance. And as stated by our auditors, that money in fund balance is, upon your approval, usable for any lawful purpose. And it is, as he said, from all eternity past. So in our savings, we have X number of dollars. In this budget, I'm proposing that we allocate from savings $571,000 for the undergrounding project, which is the estimated shortfall as of this moment. That could change, not down, but up. But that's what it is at this point. As that number may change, also will that number change in the use of fund balance, and I will adjust it as necessary. So we are using funds in this budget, if approved and finalized, $571,000. The expenditure of that money is found under other line item, which says trans to undergrounding, which is a normal $10,000 that we have as miscellaneous, plus the $571,000. At this point, I would ask, am I making myself clear?
Yes.
Some highlights in regards to other departments. The administration, the legal is being adjusted from $1 million, the current 2015-16 budget, down to $650,000, which is on page 2. It's a proposed amount of money to be expended in legal for the proposed year. Also, in this budget, even though we have these large expenditures and reduction in millage rate, this budget presently has an amount identified as reserves or contingency of $555,601. So we have $650,000 in legal, we have $555,000 in contingency. If not used, will go to the fund balance. I've also tried to give you a presentation on the projected fund balance in future years based on certain assumptions, and you will see that these projections are in alignment with the goal-setting meetings that we had approximately 9 months ago, in which the overwhelming identification of projects was to build reserves. It was quite clear from residents who attended that meeting that before we do too much of anything as far as building expansion or anything else, that we, one, must build reserves not only in general fund, but in the water utility fund. And in both cases, we are aligning ourselves quite adequately to that goal. The water utility fund does not have an increase in fees projected. I have not been notified by the city of Delray Beach whether they propose an increase in water. There is discussions about doing that very thing based on their own P&L. So before going too much further, I would ask, as it relates to our assignment here today as a commission, if you have any comments, direction, or questions.
I have a question on the, to go back to the paving.
Yes.
We had spoken about that, I don't know, a short time ago, and you had mentioned the penny increase that was pending, and that the, would that money, if that goes through, would be in addition to the 200,000 that you have in the budget?
That is correct. And however, I do not believe that based on the timeline, that we will see that in this current fiscal, proposed year, 2016 and 17. But yes, indeed, as the normal operating budget provides for capital, in addition to that, we will be adding whatever our portion of that sales tax will be. It's estimated at approximately $56,000. Our share of the increase in the 1 penny sales tax would be approximately $56,000 each year. So we will, our roads have been short-sighted from 2008 going forward, done what we could do with what we have, but there's time now that, in my opinion, our roads need to be adequately provided for. We're looking at probably an estimate of $750,000 to $1 million if we were to do all roads within our jurisdiction. To put it in perspective, I'm not saying that's an accurate number, but I actually have done some calculations of square footage and cubic feet in regards to the barrier island. So I know that was around 550,000. When we actually get to the work, the costs will be slightly increased by inflation. So if you encompass Los Angeles into those numbers, I think you're looking at $750,000. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does.
Other questions or comments? I'd like to compliment the staff. It's been about a year since we advanced the prospect of building our reserves, of maintaining as lean an operation as possible, and that the staff has done, as is evidenced by the auditor's report today and your proposed budget. So I compliment you on those efforts. I think the entire town should. We do need to discuss the hearing dates for the actual.
If I could direct your attention to page 2 of the agenda, items for commission action, and ask if Rita could pick up from here.
Yeah, these are things that need motions in the order that they're listed. You've had the budget presented. We would need a motion to adopt the proposed village rate, which is 4.5900. That would be the first motion we need.
Let's consider that then. Is there discussion, questions, or a motion?
I think the budget looks very good, and I'm pleased that we can roll back millage rate this year. So I'd like to propose the 2017 millage rate of 4.59, which is 4.11% below the rollback rate.
I apologize, that number is actually 3.74%
Oh,
below the rollback. You don't have that information.
okay, thank you. I
I'm
was
sorry.
going, did I need this one?
Um,
It's, what is it?
3.74% below the rollback rate.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So with that amendment, is there, to the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Next item for commission action.
And then we need to certify the, well, actually, we also need to, yeah, I guess that'll be all right. Certify the rollback millage rate, which is 4.7684.
Comment, discussion, or motion?
We're certifying the rollback rate, we've got 4.7868, so is there a slight change?
Yes,
Yes.
Can you read that again for me? please?
yes. 4.7684.
Okay.
Can you just, I'll make a motion to certify the calculated rollback millage rate of 4.7684.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Next item for commission action.
These would be the hearing dates. As has been in the past, we have rescheduled our September regular meeting to be held at 4 o'clock, and then to be followed by the first budget meeting. So that would mean if you want to continue to do that, our September meeting is September the 9th, normally at 9 a.m. That would be changed to September the 9th at 4 p.m. So we would need, first of all, a motion to do that.
I'll move to reschedule the regular town meeting on September 9th at 4 o'clock rather than the usual 9 a.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Then we would need another motion to hold the first budget meeting on that same day, September the 9th, at 5:01.
I'll move to hold the first September budget meeting on September 9th at 5:01.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Now, you have a choice here for the second and final budget hearing. We cannot hold those on the same day as the county or the school board holds their budget hearings. So I've eliminated what we can't use, and what it boils down to is holding a 5:01 meeting either on September the 20th, which is a Tuesday, or September 21st, which is a Wednesday.
Any preference?
I don't care.
Earlier seems better, Tuesday.
Tuesday? That works.
Want to make a motion?
I'll move to hold the second September budget hearing on September 20th at 5:01.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. That takes care of our items for commission action.
It does.
Any items, comments by commissioners?
Not today.
No? There was discussion today at the public comment period, to which we are responsive. The tone and the thrust of those messages seem to be a welcoming of communication, an enhancement of communication, which I, at least myself, have always tried to encourage. I put my cell phone number out in my letters. I am here for you if you want to call me or if you want to meet with me. If you ever have an issue with staff, with a decision that you've received from staff or a recommendation that they've given you, I encourage you to call me, talk to me. I will meet with you and staff. I have done it over half a dozen times, and all except one have worked out to the benefit of the resident. I can't guarantee anything, but at least I can hear what you have to say and try to work things out if we can. So I want to encourage you. Don't email. Call me, please, please. Okay? On another issue, the court, let me just give you an update on the litigation status. The RICO action is finished, as you know. Mr. Slominski talked about it. It's been in the Coastal Star. I want you all to know that we engaged in the RICO action knowing that this was an item that was new to the law. No municipality's ever done a RICO action before. But we knew we had to do something to try to stop the public records lawsuits that at the time were about 53 lawsuits against this town. We uncovered hundreds of them across the state. In the filing of the RICO action, we knew that either we would prevail in the case or we would at least expose the case. And that's exactly what happened. We have not had a public records lawsuit since the day that RICO action was filed, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been one filed across any municipality in the state. So the effect of that RICO action was exactly what we tried to accomplish, and that was to stop those lawsuits. Public records requests themselves cannot be stopped by lawsuits. They continue, and they continue at a fairly high rate, not like it used to be, but they still continue from Mr. O'Boyle and Mr. O'Hare. But in that regard, we now have the cases, we've had a number of them dismissed, we've prevailed on a number. I believe we have over a dozen of them listed for a trial, which hopefully will bring an end to these public records lawsuits that have been sitting here against this town for well over a year and a half. We have also had a number of favorable court rulings from the federal courts. I urge you all to read those decisions because they gratefully recognize the conduct and actions of Mr. O'Boyle and sanction him in a number of instances, including making false statements to the court system. I encourage you to read those decisions. We will be collecting fees from Mr. O'Boyle in connection with several of them. That's my update. I thank you all for coming. I truly do. I think we all welcome your input. And again, in the future, we all have questions, disagreements. Please call.
Is public comment and questions closed
Yes.
today? Okay,
But I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
all righty. Thank
This
you.
meeting is adjourned.
Did well. Still in the meeting. You never know.